Yeah, I'm Ben Patten. I am the lead operations section chief for Northern Rockies Team 3. And we're going to spend a little bit of time here just talking about sort of the process of operations and how it works from initial attack, kind of through extended attack and into what it's like in the early stages of having a complex incident management team there and what we do from an operations perspective. IA fires start on a local unit, and those local units via county, volunteer, structure fire departments, local fire units, state and federal will respond accordingly. And depending on time of year, depending on the resources at hand, they have the capacity to handle those fires for a time period. Sometimes it's multiple days. Sometimes it escalates quickly, and they quickly run out of the resources able to manage that fire. Sometimes it's just simply complexity too. If there's a high volume of public eye, if it's high value impacts, sometimes that transition takes place earlier. So it really depends on the situation and what the capacity of that local unit is to handle that emerging incident. Typically, this is over the course of a few days. When local units are sort of on the bubble of, do we go to a complex incident management team or not? They're looking at checklists of decision points. When those early phase conversations are happening, we are sitting in our rotation waiting for our opportunity to go somewhere, and we notice and we're paying attention to these emerging fires, um, gathering data and intel whether we ever show up or not. We are constantly trying to keep our situational awareness high to all these emerging fires in the potential area. Even if it's nationwide, we're watching these fires, we're looking at the information coming in on them. So as soon as our team gets an order, we have different operations section chiefs and branch directors that have different roles when we mobilize to a fire. And from the very get-go, before we even leave our homes, we're looking at maps, we're looking at values, and we really try to focus on meeting the immediate need of that community. And it's not just about the trees or the grass, it's about the whole scope of the situation that we're coming into, and really trying to accommodate and be of service to the people when we get there. There's a lot of our division supervisors get out as early as they can, kind of forward scouting. They try to stay out of the way. They're gathering intelligence for us as we start to kind of arrive on scene and establish the situation. We pull the situation together and start looking at the strategic plan from a larger scale. And the strategy is the overwhelming or overarching bubble of what we're there to do. And that strategy incorporates far more than just tactical operations on the ground. It's the whole strategy of the impacts to the community, the natural resources, and the things that we're there to protect it. And so between values at risk, risk to responder, probability of success, we make decisions on how we're going to engage that fire. Sometimes it falls right in line with what the local unit has been doing, but oftentimes when the local unit is extended and they don't have the kind of resources that we will bring in, the plan sort of looks like it will change often. And one thing that I always try to tell people is firefighters in the moment make the best decision with the information they have. And sometimes when you look back, it you would do it differently the next time you're there. So a lot of those early on decision making, when things are really moving, when there's kind of an overwhelming sense happening on a fire, people make the best decisions they can with what they have at hand. So once we're arrived at an incident and our operations unit is we're doing some forward scouting, we're starting to create a strategic plan. Um, we have multiple meetings, touch points with all of our division supervisors, branch chiefs, operations section chiefs, and we just build this kind of set of data. Our situational awareness is just heightened. We look at the roads, we look at all of the quick structure assessments of what we have coming at us. We're looking at a lot of different things to really try to make sure that we come in the right operational tempo, that we we are engaging appropriately according to the situation that we're coming into. So when our incident management teams come in, what we roster with is an operations chief. We come in with 4+ operations section chiefs, and they are the ones that make decisions. They help with the planning phase, with resource acquisition and use of resources. We have a strategic ops chief who works on the strategic plan with the local units, and we have a field ops that is the one out on the ground helping make decisions as far as tactically, and then we have a lead ops that works with the ICs, the AAs, and all the other operations section chiefs to kind of make sure there's cohesion amongst all of that. And then below ops chief, we have branch section chiefs who will have sort of more of a chunk of ground. They might have several divisions that's under their responsibility, and it's just part of the flow of information and the chain of command for us. And then below branch chiefs, we come in rostered with division supervisors. Typically, we run, we'll come with 8+ division supervisors on an incident, depending on the size and the need. We have the ability to accommodate upwards to multiple fires, and our rostered operations group is around 60 people. And so, depending on the need, I bring the correct number accordingly. A division on a fire. So as we take a fire over, in order to have a correct span of control, typically when a fire is in an initial attack phase, we refer to things as like the right flank, left flank, heel, and head of the fire. When a team comes in, we start to reference things as far as a chunk of ground. And so we use nomenclatures. We use the phonetic alphabet from Alpha through Zulu. And so a typical fire, your flanks you'll have an Alpha Bravo flank and then a Zulu Yankee flank. And the reason we do it right and left flanks and top and bottom of the alphabet is so we have room for expansion. So as the fire grows, we can add new letters into the divisions. And a division is just a decided piece of ground. Typically, we pick that chunk of ground. Access is a big part of it, and workload. And so we try to kind of evenly break that up. So a division supervisor comes in and they take control of that piece of ground. They work with all the resources that are there, interagency, and they have objectives that come from the line officers, agency administrators, come through the strategic plan, flows down through the branch chiefs right to the division supervisors, and then their job is to execute those objectives and strategic plans on the ground level through tactics that are appropriate. We also have air operations branch director that reports directly to the lead ops, and air operations is a big part of the operations group that comes in on these fires. Air resources more and more commonly now are directed and managed via the geographic areas. Our air operations branch director works directly with the geographic areas and then also the lead operations to get the appropriate air resources there for the need. And a lot of times, it's not just we can have whatever we want. It's we have to, through objectives, through the needs, we have to justify that need. And it's not a given that we're going to have it for 14 days, or it might be one day that we really need this piece of aircraft. And then so air operations is the accountability for air resources that come in and that we use throughout the incident. Our cycle of the day in operations, we start our day early in the morning, far before briefing. We have a pre-ops brief, we call it pre-operations briefing, and that on our team is an intelligence briefing. The division soups, branch chiefs, all the air operations resources and ops chiefs meet in our designated location. We look at uh, um, satellite imagery of how the fire moved overnight. We look at weather. We look at fire behavior, the potential growth rates for the day. And we also have opportunities for any of the other sections to give pertinent, important information to the division supervisors and branch chiefs and ops chiefs early in the morning before the day starts. So after our pre-ops briefing, we move into our operational briefing, and depending on how our incident is set up, we usually um, execute that briefing from the ICP. And if we have multiple hubs or fires outside of that or camps, that is uh, live feeded out to those camp areas. And so we're all getting the same continuity of information is really important. Um, and then your ops chiefs at the ICP sort of give the intent for the day. We talk about specific strategies for the day, and then the specific tactical portions of the briefing in the morning come after the morning briefing. All the division supervisors have breakout sessions with all of the resources on their division where they talk specific tactical needs for the day. You might have water tenders, you might have hotshot crews, you might have type 2 crews, hand crews, engines, might be federal engines, state engines, county contract engines, medical units, or heavy equipment, dozers, excavators, could be logging equipment depending on what we're doing. So that division supervisor oftentimes has typically we have around 50 to upwards to 200 people that they're responsible for on their piece of ground. So it's a large responsibility for them to make sure that there's continuity of information, because the goal is to have the information that is coming from the line officers, the agency administrators, through the ICs, that flows cleanly all the way down to that first year kid on an engine or on a hand crew, and that they understand why they're there and the risks involved and the mitigations that we're doing to try to make that the best situation for them to be successful, and that the tactics that we're using is our best chance for success. Firefighting is a dangerous thing, and those of us that do it, we understand that. But our job and what we put a lot of time and effort into is risk mitigation. It's why we focus on values. What's the most valuable thing? And then the risk to responders. What can we do to make this the best situation possible for them to be successful? So after the operational breakouts with the division supervisors, they go out and they execute their day. The ops chiefs back at the ICP start our planning cycle for the day. That planning cycle consists of resources needed for the next operational shift, where we're going with this fire. We spend time looking at the weather that's coming in. We look at the fire behavior that we're dealing with. We look at the values at risk and what we're really working towards, the objectives, and what do we need to accomplish that going into tomorrow. We'll spend that day ensuring that our strategic plan is in alignment with the tactics and the actual ground operations. We spend time during that day typically doing recons, whether it's with vehicles or aviation, to ensure that what is happening on the ground is in alignment with the objectives and where we're going as an organization. And we create this cycle. We have multiple meetings throughout the day. We do a tactical meeting where the rest of the command and general staff gets to understand what the plan is for tomorrow, and we get affirmation on that plan from the command and general staff, that they're along with us for where we're going, and that there's an agreement on that plan. We spend time building relationships with local cooperators, sheriffs, county commissioners. We spend time with agency administrators, tribal and local organizations that are important and that are impacted by the fire. We try to not be a closed off organization, because the key to success is that relationship building and really understanding what we're doing. And then there's just a constant flow of data coming in from the field, how things are working, what's being successful. If an accident happens on a fire, that becomes part of our day. An operations section chief is going to be a part of that incident within an incident, and we step aside and we handle that, so that we can put the priorities of our firefighter safety and well-being as the number one thing. That always takes precedence over any planning that we would be doing. And then by the end of the day, we end the day out with a planning meeting that is available to all the cooperators and people involved and the agencies. And we come to a concurrence on what we are going to do for the following day, and that we are all in agreement. And so we can move forward as a unified front as we, work towards meeting the objectives of that fire. As the day progresses, we get into the evening hours. We do a late night, 9 o'clock usually at night. we do a post-operational briefing, and it's where all the division supervisors, branch section chiefs, and then we welcome in other section personnel to listen in, and we give a pretty detailed debriefing of what happened that day. Um, it's the transfer of information that is so critical for success of complex incident management teams on these fires, and this is a very integral part of that success. And so every division supervisor briefs to it's a digital map on a very large screen that we can zoom in and show specific things that they're dealing with. They talk about their accomplishments for the day. They talk about the challenges that they're facing. They talk about their needs. They give us a detailed report on for success in their division, what they need for the following day. It also gives the other sections opportunity to have firsthand information, but they get to hear directly from the division supervisors what's happening on the ground. And then we also have that meeting as an opportunity for the other sections to do report outs. We hear from resource advisors, we hear from fire behavior, we hear from the incident meteorologist at that time, any pertinent information that came from the day that we can kind of end the day with. So in our cycle of operational planning, the resources required to accomplish the objectives is always something that can be a challenge, and part of that is the shared resources nationally. We aren't the only fire, I'm sure, going on in the country, and so we have to be really creative. We have to be very detailed in how we describe to the region what we need for resources, why we need them, and how long we need them for. If they're a valuable resource like Type 1 hotshot crews, aviation resources, and federal engines, they're very hard to get, and we really have to justify that use and use them appropriately when we have them.